February 1943. Commander Pierre de Morier faces a nightmare at sea. His lone corvette stands between an Allied convoy and a relentless U-boat wolf pack. But tonight, the hunters will become the hunted. Picture Commander Pierre de Morier staring down every sailor's nightmare. 2 ships lie wrecked by torpedoes, yet the enemy presses on relentlessly. Morier bets everything on cunning, threading Laélia through a storm of deadly salvos with breathtaking precision, dodging and striking back before the U-boats can reload. How does one ship defy such odds? For years, these waters bowed to U-boat dominance until now. Armed with secret tactics from the Western Approach's tactical unit, Morier turns the tide. As Laélia dances past another strike, he readies a counterblow, showing Allied ships can fight back. Curious how this lone hero outsmarted the hunters? Stick with us, history's about to unfold. When France fell to the German blitzkrieg in May 1940, the United Kingdom suddenly stood alone against what seemed like an impossible challenge, facing a regime that had devoured much of Europe in mere months. By autumn, the Atlantic had become a hunting ground. German U-boats, fresh from their victory in Norway, prowled the dark waters. The Royal Navy, the last hope against Hitler's dominance, was pushed to its limits. By October, British losses mounted. Convoy SC-118 became an early victim, torn apart by torpedoes, dragging over half its ships to the depths. Before the Royal Navy could respond, the wolf pack struck again Convoy SC-129. More ships went down. The ineffective escorts failed to take out a single U-boat. Despite new sonar systems, the Royal Navy struggled to maintain contact. The enemy slipped through gaps in their defenses, striking without warning. The disaster was so great that Winston Churchill later admitted, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril." Karl Donitz devised a plan to cripple Britain without setting foot on British soil. He calculated that 300 U-boats could sink enough merchant ships in a year to starve the nation into collapse. Churchill knew Britain had little time. The fight against the U-boat menace had begun. In early 1942, Captain Gilbert Roberts faced a daunting task: tilt the Atlantic War's odds. Once a naval officer, he'd been sidelined by health woes. Now, he led a ragtag crew to outsmart U-boats. Called the Western Approach's Tactical Unit WATU, this outfit hid behind Liverpool's Town Hall, its fortified basement a shield from German bombs. Roberts' goal was bold: fuse theory with combat reality, crafting tactics to save sailors before they sailed. Naval brass scoffed, could a shore-bound squad teach sea dogs anything? Doubts grew when they saw his team, mostly Wrens from the Women's Royal Navy Service, some just 17, wrestling with anti-submarine tricks and tech that baffled veterans. Yet Roberts saw gold in their quick, sharp minds. Day by day, these young women morphed into submarine hunting pros. On sprawling tactical maps, they maneuvered model ships, probing strategies and exposing naval flaws. How could novices crack the U-boat code? Their breakthroughs revealed German weaknesses, turning skeptics into believers. Ready to see how this unlikely band changed the game? Join us as their tactics hit the waves. Royal Navy officials arrived at WATU headquarters, doubtful that a team with little naval combat experience could teach them how to battle the Kriegsmarine. As they stepped inside, they were met with a massive tactical table stretching across the floor, covered in real-life naval coordinates and markers representing ships in formation. Before they could fully examine the setup, they were quickly ushered behind large canvas screens. From there, their view of the battlefield was reduced to a narrow section, mimicking the limited visibility that sailors experienced in real combat. Behind the screens, the Wrens controlled the flow of the war game, calculating ship movements, applying performance variables, and ensuring that every maneuver adhered to real-world constraints. Unlike the officers, the Wrens had a complete view of the battle, including the U-boat tracks marked in a separate color to represent the hidden danger that lay beneath the waves. This setup recreated the same uncertainty sailors faced on the open sea. As the masterminds of these strategic exercises, the Wrens orchestrated scenarios that mirrored the cat-and-mouse engagements of real battles. The officers, placed in command roles, received only limited data ship courses, speed radar readings, and tactical objectives, but the enemy's exact positions remained a mystery. Once orders were issued, the Wrens executed them on the board, marking the results with meticulous accuracy. Every decision had immediate consequences, forcing the officers to react in real time to unexpected attacks, miscommunications, and losses. As the exercises unfolded, the skeptical commanders slowly began to recognize the brilliance behind WATU's training. One of the most unsettling discoveries was that the U-boats, under the strategic mind of Karl Donitz, had advanced well beyond their World War I tactics. Unlike earlier submarines that targeted the outskirts of convoys, this new fleet had mastered X-infiltration. Under the cover of darkness, they would slip past defenses, strike at the convoy's core, then vanish beneath the waves before they could be detected. WATU wasted no time in formulating a response, the Raspberry maneuver. If a torpedo struck, any escort ship could immediately fire 2 white rockets into the sky and broadcast Raspberry over the radio. This triggered a rapid counterattack. Forward escorts launched star shells, illuminating the surrounding waters and exposing hidden threats, while rear and flank escorts surged at high speed, sweeping the area to trap and eliminate the U-boat before it could escape. As the months passed, WATU developed a series of defensive tactics designed to counter U-boat attacks in any situation. Techniques like banana and pineapple were tailored to protect convoys of different sizes, utilizing precise rocket signals and methodical sonar sweeps to swiftly detect submarines, creating an inescapable trap. In August, during the Battle of Convoy SC-112, sailors applied their WATU training with remarkable accuracy, catching the enemy off guard. One senior officer later remarked, "It was a pleasure to see and hear the Norwegians go into action. Raspberry went like clockwork, and whenever during the night the cry of tally-ho was heard on the scram, I only had to check the bearings to know where a U-boat was being hunted." By 1943, the battle intensified in the North Atlantic. U-62 and U-413 launched torpedoes at Convoy SC-118, striking freighter Togoba and West Portal. A crucial oversight had left the convoy's rear dangerously exposed, with only the Free French corvette FLYTOP Laélia defending the vulnerable sector. Commander Pierre de Morier, a recent graduate of WATU's Liverpool training, suddenly found himself alone against a coordinated U-boat assault. Drawing on his training, Morier envisioned the freezing Atlantic as an extension of WATU's tactical floor and launched a desperate defense. His crew engaged multiple U-boats, expending 180 depth charges in an aggressive counterattack. Morier's understanding of submarine tactics allowed him to predict each U-boat's next move, countering them before they could fire another torpedo. His corvette dodged multiple strikes before seizing an opportunity, delivering a direct hit on U-69. Despite the convoy's losses, this battle marked a critical shift. Commander Donitz could no longer ignore the reality Allied convoys were no longer easy prey. In May 1943, Commander Peter Gretton was given a difficult mission escorting Convoy SC-130. The convoy's smoke-belching ships made them easy targets for U-boats lurking nearby. Navigating through thick fog, Gretton's team detected enemy signals using Huff Duff, a system that pinpointed U-boat radio transmissions almost instantly. Wasting no time, he initiated a counteroffensive, employing the creeping attack method to guide depth charges, immediately striking U-381. The U-boats retaliated, launching a coordinated strike to overwhelm the convoy's defenses. As 3 submarines closed in at once, a crew member quipped, "As Mae West said, 1 at a time, gentlemen, please." With nearly 30 U-boats circling, Gretton faced his greatest tactical challenge. Relying on WATU strategies, he orchestrated a flawless defense, keeping the submarines at bay. The enemy subs swarmed like wolves, but every torpedo was evaded, and every attempted breach was blocked. The fleet struck back, launching precise retaliatory fire that cut through the rough seas, sinking 3 U-boats. But when another wolf pack was detected, Gretton knew it was time to withdraw. He changed course, leaving the enemy behind before they could regroup. By battle's end, not a single merchant ship was lost. Even Donitz acknowledged the outcome in his memoirs, writing, "The convoy escorts worked in exemplary harmony with the specially trained support groups." In March 1944, Captain Gilbert Roberts, leader of the Western Approaches Tactical Unit, was summoned to the Royal Navy's top command. The Allied invasion of Normandy was imminent, and Roberts was tasked with adapting his U-boat countermeasures to protect the massive fleet needed for the operation. For 6 weeks, Roberts and his team refined plans, incorporating shallow water patrols, precision escort formations, tidal navigation tactics, and preemptive strikes against U-boats. As final invasion details were being finalized at maritime headquarters, Roberts found himself in a room filled with key Allied leaders Winston Churchill, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Charles de Gaulle, and even King George VI. When the king asked Admiral Sir Max Horton about the U-boat defense strategy, Horton simply replied, "Roberts will answer that, sir." Stepping forward, Roberts presented an X-scale-sized map of the English Channel, painted onto the wooden floor reminiscent of the tactical boards used by the Wrens at WATU. He methodically explained the defensive strategies in place, detailing depth charge deployments, sonar sweeps, and diversionary maneuvers. As he finished, the room remained silent for a moment before the king responded with a single word: "Thank you." On June 6, 1944, Roberts' strategies faced their ultimate test. As dawn broke over the English Channel, 160,000 Allied troops surged toward the fortified beaches of Nazi-occupied France. Enemy fire erupted, while mines, wooden stakes, and barbed wire turned the shoreline into a deadly obstacle course. U-boats lurking offshore wasted no time in striking, targeting vital supply ships and landing craft. But by now, the Allies were well prepared. Escort ships, trained under Roberts' doctrine, executed tight formations and aggressive countermaneuvers that disrupted the submarine packs before they could launch a decisive attack. Depth charges rained down, driving U-boats into retreat. What Roberts had meticulously planned on a wooden floor was now unfolding in real time. Every strategic decision contributed to the fleet's protection. The U-boats, relentless in their attempts to disrupt the invasion, found themselves outmatched. By the end of D-Day, the Allies had secured all 5 beachheads, paving the way for the liberation of France, just 1 month later. For his invaluable contributions to the Allied victory at sea, Captain Gilbert Roberts was honored with the title of Commander of the British Empire. His leadership at WATU had proven instrumental in neutralizing the U-boat threat and securing control over the Atlantic. As the war drew to a close, WATU's mission was fulfilled, and the unit was officially disbanded. Upon its closure, Admiral Sir Max Horton sent a message to its members, recognizing their efforts. On the closing down of WATU, "I wish to express my gratitude and high appreciation of the magnificent work of Captain Roberts and his staff, which contributed in no small measure to the final defeat of Germany. Though WATU ceased to exist, its impact on naval warfare endured, forever changing the way battles at sea were fought. History is full of hidden battles and untold strategies. Subscribe to FLYTOP and uncover the moments that changed the course of war. The war at sea was just one front. But what other forgotten tactics shaped history? Stick around, the best is yet to come."